beloveds. Welcome. Are you feeling the eclipse energies? I'm sure you are. I am. I'm observing it. I'm feeling it. I'm seeing it. What's it like for you? Drop it in the comments. Tell me. I would love to hear from some of the subscribers that listen and watch these pretty regularly but don't always comment. I would love to hear from you. How is this energy feeling, and what are the presenting themes? Eclipse season is always quite intense. So moving a lot of this sacred smoke, clearing the space, and let's go ahead and just call forth the highest truth, the highest light, asking for guidance and delivering a message that helps each individual as well as the collective in reconciling their humanity with their divinity at this time, and what the presenting themes may be with this eclipse, particularly this new moon energy, helping us to see more clearly how to work with and receive the most out of this time. Full thanks. So be it. So this eclipse is what I have learned about this eclipse. And this is according to Pam Gregory, who's an incredible astrologer, is that this is the ending of an eclipse cycle that began in 2021, at the end of 2021. So you may want to reflect on the themes in your life, what was maybe getting shaken up at that time, what ended. This should be a kind of completion of some of those experiences and lessons. And it's also the beginning of a new cycle of eclipses on the end with the full moon. But right now we're working with this new moon energy. I'm not sure the exact new moon, but I believe that it is this Friday, Saturday, when it will be at its peak. And this will be the solar eclipse. It's an annular eclipse, which they call the ring of fire. It's where you can see the ring around it. And from what I understand, this is actually coming through Canada, America, Puerto Rico. So this could be really impactful for those of us who live here in the US. For me, I'm not able to put a clear finger on what is influenced by the eclipse itself. But this is collectively a time where there's a lot of death, there's a lot of finalization, there's completion. And I feel like to some extent every person is experiencing this directly or indirectly, whether it's actually the loss of a person or perhaps an animal or a job or a relationship. There are really big closures and transformation happening at this time. So for me, there's been a request to kind of slow down to really notice what signals we're getting, because often when transformation is approaching, we start to get little seeds of wisdom that will help us to detach, so it's not as painful when it happens. But if we're on the treadmill of life and we're not meditating and we're not slowing down to listen beyond the dramas of the mind and the ego and the thoughts of the personality, then we can miss out on the breadcrumbs that were being left. That's like, hey, perhaps you need to begin to direct your energy in a different way. Perhaps you need to be investing in another source, reality. And that for me has been some of the presenting themes. But with eclipses, it's not as easy to see through. The way I always experience it is I have no idea what's going to be on the other side. I just get some clarity around what needs to go. And that's really what it's about, is how do we shake up all of the stuff that we've left behind. Like I get the visual of deep cleaning the house. So it's really easy for us to kind of do the chores and the typical stuff, and when life's moving really fast, we don't get into the corners and we don't get underneath the fridge, and there's usually, like the time before we move, or maybe it's before we're going to have guests, or maybe it's just when we've got that compulsion to like really change our environment, that we will go in and clean the stuff that we continue to look over. And that's a metaphor for what happens in eclipses and what you may be experiencing during this time. So without further ado, we're going to consult the oracles. And I just received a wonderful new deck from dear sister. It's a Mary Magdalene deck. I'm so excited about this and happy to share it with you today, and chose to bring this forward as our initial card. And the initial card seems to also fall in line with some of the things that I am transmuting and reconfiguring in my own world, and what I'm hearing in the collective is like this need for each other, and the need for like a quality of community that some of us may have never had, or don't currently have, or have not had access to as regularly, is not doing it all alone, needing to lean on each other, and needing to feel the support that's even beyond the physical support in our life, magnifying this fear of being alone. And I invite anyone who this speaks to contemplate what the difference is in being alone and being lonely, and what would reconcile that. And this card is offering some wisdom. This card is angels. I have never been alone. And here you see Yeshua, and you can see what appears to be Mary kneeling next to perhaps his tomb, and Yeshua healing the lame, Mary Magdalene standing at his side. And it's becoming increasingly important for us to find the power of our connection with God, our connection with Source, with our higher self, and with the angelic realm, with our ancestors of the light, with the beings that are surrounding us in love and support, and knowing how to listen to that, how to feel that, how to access that, because there are times right now, and I feel that this will be a growing experience for most, of this feeling of desperation, of aloneness and isolation. And it's a true test of resolving the separation created by the mind, by the karma. As Ram Dass says, our karma is our mind. And perhaps you are receiving some tidbits of breadcrumbs that are asking you to resolve those places and to meet them, to work with that, to be with that, and to restore your sense of connection. Even when we don't feel the connection, it's there. And that requires a certain level of trust. I'm going to scan through what this card says here to pull what feels very relative. So this says, Mary Magdalene loved equally Christ's physical body and his intangible soul. So after Christ is crucified by the Roman Empire, she goes searching for his body in the dark, alone. And after she finds the tomb empty, she starts weeping because Mary, like Christ, is also human. According to the Gospel of John, a voice then asks Mary, "Why are you weeping?" Mary looks up to see who asked her this question, and she can suddenly perceive two angels standing before her. They are standing at the places where Christ's head and feet had been. She tells them that she's weeping because they have taken Christ's body away, and she doesn't know where. The angels are facing her so they can see who is already standing behind her as she's speaking. She's standing there thinking she is without Christ, when they can see clearly that he is right there beside her. Mary turns then and hears Christ ask the exact same question the angels ask her. "Why are you weeping?" She doesn't recognize Christ at first. She thinks he's the gardener. So she asks him if he took Christ's body away. Christ then says, "Mary," and in hearing her name and his voice, Mary knows immediately who is standing before her. Rabboni, she exclaims, which is ancient Hebrew for teacher. This moment is the memory that we're never alone, even as we are weeping on our knees in the darkness. All the love we can ever imagine is already right here, where love remains within the human heart. This moment is the memory that love is stranger than death. This moment is the memory that is often when we're at our most human, bereft, heartbroken, and vulnerable, that the angels can finally be heard. This moment is the memory that the energy of love is the bridge between the worlds. The paradox in being human is that when we're humble enough to feel the depths of our grief, we are directly connected to the experience of how love never ends. We are directly connected to all the love that is constantly calling out to us invisibly from within. Yeah, that really speaks to my personal experience, and I'm curious to hear if it speaks to you. I've definitely experienced a humbling that has been a result of unprocessed grief. And once it began to process, my heart was able to really be with other people who are in grief and to see through a lens that is much more tender and is not limited by time and space and physics, because the heart knows no limits, it knows no bounds, it knows no time. And it feels that there is opportunities that are present for each of us now to be transformed by the death, the loss, the grief, and to receive discernment in that. It takes, in my opinion, sometimes to be humbled by pain, to be humbled by confrontation, to be humbled by, these very challenging experiences, to finally give in to the soul. The personality can be very persistent and very persuasive and very loud, to the degree that we are not allowing life and love to flow through us and to guide us. And it feels like a very strong pull on the collective to drop into their heart, to perceive others and their self and their situation through a different lens, through the lens of the heart, to bear witness to the suffering of the human experience. but to also maintain the contact with the soul that knows no limitations. It only knows the restrictions of the personality, the programming that we have been given or adopted. And our second card here is the middle world, which is this is about the world that we live in. It's about the bridge. Here you can see the tree of life. And the words that came through in the very beginning, as you heard in the invocation, was show us how to reconcile being human with being spiritual. I'm paraphrasing what I said, but that was the essence of what I was receiving. Is we're learning a lot about death so we can live better. And when we live really fully, then we're not afraid of death. When we live without regrets, then when the time comes, then we may not feel as much of a need to grasp and to hold on or to fear the unknown. The middle world is the realm of the day-to-day reality and the playground of the living. It is the present moment where everything is happening. Yet the middle world is created by the future, not only the past, and it is a mirror of the invisible realms. When things are right in the middle world, heaven and earth support everything. When they are not, heaven and earth must be brought into order as well. The middle world shows up when conditions are favorable to your undertaking. Do not hesitate. Move forward as heaven and earth are smiling upon you. The time is right, so be expedient, be mindful of not being reckless. The world is your playground, and what would require great effort at any other time can be accomplished with ease right now. Do not try to correct on earth what needs to be corrected in the heavens. The resources to support the change or endeavor you are considering are readily available to you. So it's important to ask for help from the invisible realms, from helpers in the upper world. This aligns with this first card of going beyond the mind to receive your guidance and going straight to source. And sometimes when we do this, when we ask for help, we ask for revelation, we ask for a sign, we ask for guidance, we first have to assess, are we taking time to listen? And secondly, if you're not receiving anything, then you need to reassess that again and create more space to really disengage from the automatic thoughts of the mind, to disengage from the world. And particularly, I find like the technological influences, because when we're listening to people speaking, when we're listening to shows, when we're listening to podcasts, all of this stuff comes in and it crowds the psychic field, and it just kind of spins around. So it's hard to maintain a sense of clarity without hearing echoes from what you've been absorbing or what you have been exposed to. So that would be one way I would suggest of creating the right environment to receive what you're looking for, and to know that God, Spirit, the universe speaks to us in mysterious ways. So it may not be something audible. It may come through a song at the right time that has a cathartic, creates a cathartic response in you or reaction, or it may be some words that somebody uses. It may be, synchronicities. There are multiple ways that the universe will speak to you, and the angels and your ancestors will speak to you, but you have to be present in the moment and undistracted. So if you've got a lot of noise going on in the background of the mind and actually in the physical background, then you may have a much more difficult time zeroing in and being able to discern what is the voice of God, the voice of your higher self, your intuition, and what is some influences coming from the ego or the psyche or the collective field. So this is a time where it's really ripe to make the changes that are hard to make, that you maybe have thought you'd never make, the changes that feel impossible. It can be much easier during eclipses to do this, and quite frankly, if it is if it's something that has been presenting for a while, you're going to feel a pretty hard edge with it. There's almost a bit of a forcing, like I think of a leaf blower in your home. I have dogs that come and they sleep inside at night and in the evening, and obviously there can be dog hair when you have that. So to come in my house with a leaf blower, everything would go everywhere. But it would also move things around and disturb things that maybe had gone unnoticed. It would rearrange things in a way that would force me to address it. So that's a visualization of the energy that we can expect during eclipse season. And this is in the sign of Aries and Libra. Aries is a fire sign, so it's purification, spiritual purification, but that's also, it can come off as aggression, it can come off as war, it can come off as fiery, getting burned. It's a very clear energy. And Libra being the scales of balance and peace and harmony and right relationship. So if there's anywhere that you're out of balance, in your life, it's going to be amplified right now. You're going to probably experience things getting worse before they get better. This is the way of healing, though, because it takes acknowledging that there's a problem in order to correct and find a solution. So if you can start to find the places that are standing out where you're experiencing more suffering, well, great. Now you've identified what maybe one of the main issues is, and you can begin to use your energy and efforts to resolve and to create balance within that system. And being reminded you're not doing it alone. Use this time, these challenges, this compression to strengthen your intuition, to strengthen your compatibility with your spiritual nature. It comes through embodiment. In order to be fully divine, we have to be fully human. We have to accept our humanness. It's interesting. I've just laid out a deck of cards and I'm not getting to pull any of them. So we're going to go with this other deck. Yeah. Huh. So I get two cards here. One of them is what I would call an encouragement card, and the other one is guidance. This card for guidance is working with crystals. The energy of crystals support you and helps you with your present situation. What I hear is, because this can highlight the tendencies of the mind to echo and to become very loud and almost overbearing. One of the things that helped me so much in creating a consistent meditation practice was crystals, because it is an element that can help to boost, clear, direct the energy, influence the energy in a positive way. It feels like maybe there's something here for us to work with in our meditation space, placing a crystal in your hands, ideally in the palm of your left hand, and taking this mudra here where my left hand is sitting inside of my right hand and my thumbs are together, letting them sit in your lap, perhaps if you're in a seated position. This is balance. Since we're working with this energy of balance, perhaps you could bring in some kind of mudras, crystals, maybe even sound binaural beats that help to balance the brain. Yes, all of these things feel like shortcuts through the the mind fields. Meditation is crucial right now so that you can stay within the eye of the storm and not get swept up in all of the movement and all of the change, because it could be sudden and it could be dramatic, and it's very likely we're already seeing some of this happening globally, over in Israel, and I do not think it's going to stop there. So I'm just emphasizing using the allies that we have, really leaning into the ethereal realm and all of the guidance and support that is there. The other card I pulled is that you're profoundly clairvoyant. You must trust what you see in your mind's eye, as well as with physical sight, for spiritual vision helps you with healing, teaching, and guidance. So let me read that again. Trust what you see in your mind's eye, as well as with your physical sight, for your spiritual vision helps you with healing, teaching, and guidance. And learning how to discern what is coming from the mind of God, what is coming from your soul and your higher self, and is clear intuition, and what is fear-based impressions from the past and distractions of the ego. Discerning that is absolutely key in being able to move through life in a more trusting and intuitive way, because our intuition is something we can always trust. It is the voice of God. It is the voice of the higher self. It is the unhealed parts of the personality that obscure, taint, and deceive us. And it's very persuasive and very it can appear as intuition, it can appear as God, but feeling the quality of what happens when you're in that alignment is a key way to gauge. The following card is the ever unfolding rose, cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. We have to watch out for the victim mode. It's very easy to get in victim mode, and I'm speaking for myself in this. It's easy to be pulled in by that part of our story and create all kinds of scenarios and thought patterns around why it's not fair, and it's a waste of our energy. Eventually, over time, after you begin to become more of the witness to the thoughts, then you choose not to entertain that anymore, because you know that it's just a drama. It's just a way of distracting you from following your path of power, and that no thing is good or bad. That's a projection made from the personality, and this says a lot, I think, about what maybe some people are feeling. It's like getting cracked wide open, and it's like a flooding that can happen in our life and can feel overwhelming, overtaking. The challenge of life is to keep your heart open when you most want to close it, to let life crack you open, to open through hurt and loss, to allow what is falling away to fall away. Being human is a courageous act. A life well lived is full of losses and tragedies, as much as triumphs and adventures. Wherever you find yourself at the moment, life is coaxing you to keep your heart open no matter how much it hurts, to continually unfold, to let life crack you open. Perhaps you are going through a difficult time right now. Instead of cursing the difficulty, see it as a blessing. To open yourself up to the truth that perhaps as hard as it may be, life is happening for you, not to you. And one day, in the not too distant future, you may just bless the thing that broke you down and cracked you open because the world needs you open. Now is the time to go gently, to treat yourself like a tender, sweet baby, to wrap yourself in a blanket and trust that the mother has you cradled in her arms. The seas may not all be smooth sailing, but you are safe and you are held. One day, not too far from today, you will look back at the transformation and be blown away by the poetry of life. Everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. Let it crack you open. Receive the gifts of your destiny. I'm going to pull just a couple more cards. That felt pretty clear. To just be with the challenges and to trust that even through the death, the dying, that the rebirth is worth it. And I was reminded of all of the places that my heart shuts down, particularly in the face of being bullied, being threatened. And it offers me a deeper look at myself and the way that some of those energies live in me and how to resolve that, how to humble myself and willingly choose to see God in the other person. That doesn't mean excusing their behaviors, but it means choosing to be in alignment, to be connected with their soul, and to ask how love would show up. How would love appear and meet this? Because the manifestation of things like bullying and anger, it comes from a place where love doesn't live. So then it becomes my responsibility when I see it to be a beacon for that. So it may be healed in all beings, everywhere, including myself. And it has to start with me. So a couple things that I would ask is that if there are people or places in your life, including in yourself, where you are being hard on yourself, maybe even being hateful or loathing towards yourself or someone else. Have you ever prayed for your enemy? Have you ever prayed for the person that everything inside of you wants to revolt against? That's how you resolve that. That's how you change the outer world. Is you do the thing that your personality wants to do, at least your ego doesn't want to do it, because ego wants to be right. Ego wants to be special. Ego wants to get the last word. So choose to bless yourself, bless your enemies, bless your challenges. Be careful with your words, be careful with your thoughts, be mindful with them, and see if there are places where you can take up that practice of praying, of calling on the angels, and blessing, invoking, and inviting the spirit of grace and the spirit of love through you. So I'm pulling cards for the eclipse, for specifically the opening and the closing of this eclipse. This is just something that started to come through. And the card that we are getting on this new moon is the Temescali. So it's the sweat lodge. It's the South American sweat lodge, which is purification by fire. And this would be an ideal time to do some kind of detox. Now, gentle detox, because there will be a lot changing in the outer worlds. I would suggest gentle detox. One of my favorite gentle detoxes is charcoal foot pads while you sleep. I always sleep way better. Or any kind of foot bath, Epsom salt baths. Something simple like drinking lemon water first thing in the morning. Gentle, nothing dramatic. Take it easy, but that will be emphasized. It will be amplified, so a little bit can go a long way for you if you start to bring some of those things in, because physical toxins are directly related to emotional, mental toxins, energetic toxins. They're all the same. It's just a manifestation in the body from the thought processes that we have that create certain emotions that are a hormonal response to a thought, to the biology, to the environment, and it creates an energetic resonance in the field. So if you're able to detoxify the physical body, you will also experience a clearing in the mental field, the emotional field. Your body will feel better, and this is one way that we can practically reconcile being human and being divine and having clarity of discernment within this body. The Temescali represents purification of the mind and of the body. This is a time to consider what no longer serves you and what you need to shed to move forward in life. When you draw this card, you should plan a purification ritual to restore your relationship with the universe and with yourself. Aho! If you're not familiar yet, I do have a ceremony online. You can join me from your home or from wherever you're at, 9:30 to 11:30 this Saturday with the new moon solar eclipse. It is to get our minds, hearts, bodies, and spirit in alignment with the highest truth of our destiny, to no longer be susceptible to our circumstances and to be thrashed around by our fate, but to choose our destiny and to become the creators of this new world. And I invite you to join me. I will open with a cacao ceremony, but you can use tea, you could use water, or you could just be present there in the space. And we will do some very deep journeying into our roots so that we are able to withstand the change of the storm and to trust in the goodness or the positive potential that comes with death and transformation, and spend some time generating and thinking about someone other than ourselves, sending love and energy out to the universe. And I find when I'm like, I've gone through depressive stages, or where I've gone through stages where I feel down or things are difficult, one of the things that shifts me the fastest is when I do things for other people. When I show up to serve other people, even though I feel like I don't want to. That quickly clears things up, because as we give, so too do we receive. So we'll be doing a version of the Twin Hearts meditation, and that way we can support our own healing as well as become a part of the solution for the world and send that out into the world during this time. The closing card that I have pulled is, I keep looking back and forth at this card because I'm not sure if I've got it right in here. But it's called the Man with the Big Shell, and I was guided to pull this as like the closing of the eclipse, the full moon, which will be at the end of this month. So we have the opening of the eclipse on the new moon this Friday, Saturday, and then we have the closing of the eclipse right before Halloween. That happens on the 28th, the morning of the 28th. There's something about this card though, like just looking at it, that just feels really ripe with the wisdom and the sanctity of moving through the portal of rebirth. So this is called the Man of the Big Shell. And what this card states, this is a deity that is a central figure in the creation story of the current age. In the story, all the divine beings are gathered to create the new sun, and each must give an offering to the fire. This deity, a wealthy deity, offered precious gifts instead of offering mere branches. He offered costly feathers. Instead of straw, he offered gold, and instead of mag spines, he offered spines made of precious gems. Instead of offering his own blood, he offered blood-colored coral, along with the best copal. When the deities asked for volunteers to sacrifice by throwing themselves into the fire to create the sun, 2 deities answered the call. This deity, and then another one, I have trouble pronouncing these Mayan names. We'll just say Nana. But this deity was afraid. He tried 4 times to enter the fire, but could not. After he failed the 4th time, Nana bravely threw himself on the ritual fire to create the sun. Ashamed of his cowardice, this deity followed Nana into the fire and became the moon. The shell is a representation of the moon, which is why he is often depicted with a shell, sometimes on his back and other times over his head. When this deity appears, he must be drawing your attention to the fact that you are more concerned with material things than spiritual matters. Or he may be calling your attention to your own cowardice, urging you to take action in your life before it's too late. Take time to meditate on the fear that is preventing you from embodying your highest self. That's very much the energy right now. The fire of transformation, of all in or all out, or be burned. And are you willing to fully let go? And not just a little bit, not just here, let me give you my second best dress suit, but just allowing yourself to become fully naked before the divine and to bare yourself, to bare your heart, to bare your fears, to bare your concerns and your humanity, to claim your sovereignty as a divine being. And this feels complete. And I'm being told that there's no such thing as failure. There's only learning curves. And to be gentle with yourself, to continue even when you struggle, even when you meet a curve and you must start over. Start over. Don't stop. Keep going. Stay with it. Hold steady. Find your center. Lean on your support group. In particularly, what was highlighted with this card is this is about coming into contact with your soul, to trust your highest self and to bring that relationship into balance. I think that might be one way to condense all of the different aspects and manifestations is, where is your soul and your personality out of balance? Where is your soul and your humanity out of balance? Are you saying one thing and acting another? How do you bring yourself into integrity, into alignment, and release your judgments around the learning curves of doing this? Because it's not something that's linear. You can think of it is circular or spiraled, but also you can think of it like a pendulum. And as we go in one direction, we'll go back in the other direction, and they get a little bit less every time. So there's never one where you swing the pendulum and then it stops in the middle. It keeps going forward and backward until it loses momentum, but it loses momentum by staying in the stillness of the present, in the middle, in the Tao, and then drawing to you the life experiences that are a reflection of that. So, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe. I forget to ask this at the beginning, but I would appreciate this being more available to more people, and people having access to information that may serve them. So if you know anyone who could benefit, please share. I thank you so much. I'm very grateful for you and all that you do, all that you are, the ways that you are showing up, the ways that you are conquering, the ways that you are surrendering. All my love and appreciation and great thanks to the angels and the ascended masters and the saints and the beings of light, of love, and to the supreme creation force, creatress, God. Until I see you again, stay pure, keep it simple. Pura vida.